There is a difference between a person that's like, oh yeah, I don't mind this thing happening, or I really, really want this. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Those two things, the energy is way different. Hello, welcome to my space. I'm so glad to have you here, whether this is your 80th time or your first time. I'm so glad to have you. My name is Douglas. I normally post about like just life advice and making you feel good, and I always want to do that no matter what I'm posting. But it is now officially October, which October represents a lot of different things as a month, but it's also National Kink Month, and you know what? We're all adults here, so I'm going to have a little bit more spicy content this month, along with some of my regular content as well. And to get things started, I just want to go with the basics, just to get us all started out, make sure we're all on the same page. So we're going to talk about consent today. Let's go. Okay, so first and foremost, what is consent? Just to put it blankly, it is an agreement to do something, a mutual agreement, okay? So that means you say, hey, can I have your glass of water? That person says, yes, you may have my glass of water. That's consent. So we're going to talk about the intricacies of it, what it looks like, and more importantly, what it does not look like. So let's get it's been a long day. Let's get specific. The first thing you need to know about consent is that it should be freely given. What I mean by that is there should be no obligations, there should be no fear, there should be no deception. Like, this should be something that is very mutual. Mutuality is the most important thing when it comes to consent. It has to go both ways or all way, whatever the scenario is. And I'm not even just talking about like during the sexy times. I mean, consent can be anything from, hey, may I hug you, to, can I borrow your car? Like, consent should be present in all facets of life. I think, specifically having grown up in church, they never talked about consent, ever. If anything, you were owed things and you had to present servitude and things like that. And I just think that's so harmful. So it has to be freely given. It has to be a choice. There can't be an imbalanced power dynamic, none of those things. This has to be just something that is just like yes or no. Like, that's the whole thing. Like, you got to leave the option for both. And that actually brings me to my next point. The next most important thing, or they're all important, I shouldn't say one is more important than the other, but this next thing is that consent is reversible at any time. I'm going to say it again. Consent is reversible at any time, meaning the person or people or even yourself, you are allowed to change your mind at any point during the process, okay? As a person that has been told no or to stop or change, whatever, it is your responsibility to very quickly, immediately hear what they've said and respond accordingly, okay? It doesn't mean to keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't mean to pretend like you didn't hear. Nope. Consent is and should be reversible at any point. No explanation needed. No guilt trip given. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I've changed my mind. Cool. Let's move on. That's how that conversation should go. Always. And I'm talking during the sexy times, during regular times. This could be with a lover, friend, family, doesn't matter. Anything that has consent in there should be able to be stopped and changed at any point. Okay, another thing about consent is that it should be informed and enthusiastic. And what I mean by those two things as informed is they have all of the information. You say, hi, this is what I'm interested in doing, and whatever you say the things or whatever, they hear that and they respond to those things with either the yes or the no. That's the informed. They have all of your cards are on the table, they have all the data, all the information, there is no deception, nothing. Okay? Informed consent is super important, okay? You can't make a decision if you don't have all of the variables, okay? Enthusiastic. Because consent is not all it's not all created equal, all right? There is a difference between a person that's like, oh yeah, I don't mind this thing happening, or I really, really want this. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Those two things, the energy is way different. You've got to learn the difference, okay? And respond accordingly. If the consent is not enthusiastic, honestly, I would take a step back and just reevaluate what's happening, what the understanding is, that communication, and just kind of maybe take a step back and just talk. If talking is the option, maybe it's just they're not enthusiastic and you need to bounce and they need to bounce. That's cool too. But either way, know the difference, okay? Please know that a person saying yes there could be many reasons. Do you make them feel unsafe? Do they feel like they're going to be harmed if they don't say yes? That kind of stuff. So enthusiastic and informed consent, super, super valuable. Now, I want to talk about what consent is not, or what it shouldn't look like. Consent is not biological. What I mean by that is, arousal does not equal consent. People that own a penis understand that if you just brush up against the right pair of socks, some stuff's gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if you are aroused, you still have to give and get consent. Okay? The presence of arousal does not mean that this is what they want to happen. That's a biological effect. That's a biological thing that you really can't help whether it happens or not. That doesn't mean that you want the thing to happen, but just know consent has to be given. It has to be expressed verbally, or however you communicate, but like there has to be that understanding, the yes and the no. And just because a biological reaction occurs doesn't mean that that's the direction you need to go at all. Still have to clarify, you still need to check in, and you still have to understand that all that aside, it can change. Consent can change and it can be withdrawn at any point. Some things to keep in mind. Consent cannot be given to you by a minor, so someone that is not of adult age, 18. Honestly, here's the thing though. Just because you're 18 doesn't mean you have a fully functioning, fully formed, brain. Like, you may not be that mature. So really, 18 is the least amount of, like, that's like the starting point. But like, I'm 35 years old. I probably wouldn't be talking to somebody that was, 20, because that's a huge age gap for me. Like, that person hasn't experienced life the same way I have. And so they may not understand the way I understand consent or sexuality or desires, urges, all that stuff. But at the very least, consent cannot be given to you by someone that is not an adult. So, no, it just can't happen. Also, consent can't be given to you or given by a person or people that are under the influence, whether that's alcohol, drugs, narcotics, any of that kind of stuff. No, a sober mind is the most important thing that you bring to the table, and that has to be at the table with you. Sober. Not, I'm talking, have the discussion sober. I know that people go out to bars and you get all wound up and all that, but look, if you're not able to make a sober decision, it's not really your decision. You know what I mean? And that goes both ways. You can't give consent if you are under the influence. You can't do it. It's impossible. So don't be talking to minors, and be sober when you have these conversations with adults. The last thing I'll add about consent is just understand that you're not entitled to it. Okay, no one owes you anything. No one owes you a yes. No one owes you time, space, energy, nothing. None of that. So if you go into a situation with expectations, specifically that you're going to get the yes, you have already presented a dangerous, unsafe situation, in my opinion. You can't expect anything. If anything, expect a no. That's the only expectation you need to have, is that you're going to get a no. Because if you're expecting a no, maybe you shouldn't even be talking to this person to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is a stranger, you don't know them, assume they're going to say no, and then tell yourself, oh wait, this is a stranger. I don't know them. Maybe I shouldn't be trying to do this stuff with them. You know what I mean? But just remember that consent, it has to be enthusiastic, has to be clear, it has to be informed, has to be with an adult, it has to be sober, has to be freely given, and it just, you're not entitled to it. That's pretty simple. As the month goes on, I want to talk about more issues with relationships, non-traditional relationships. I want to talk about kink, BDSM, and I wanted to talk about consent first, just because in anything you do, that is the one thing you need to have a firm understanding of. So you need to also understand what your boundaries are. You need to understand the boundaries of the person or people you're interacting with, because without consent, none of that other shit should or could exist. So that's it for now. What did you think of this list? What do you think of this video? Did I miss anything? I'm always trying to learn more. I'm always trying to expand my worldview, and it's a learning process, but like, this is something that we all need to learn. This is something we all need to know. And I hope that this helps. I don't know. I'll post more soon. Thank you so much again for being here. Remember, I post new content every Monday and Thursday. We are powerful. We are whole beings. We attract love, light, peace, safety, and security. And you know something? Happy Kink Month. We're going to talk about some adult stuff, so stay tuned. I'll talk to you later.